What is going on, everybody? My name is Logan, and welcome back to the Conservation Project's Freedom Fridays, positive news that makes you proud to be an American. We're getting into some really awesome, uplifting stuff today, and I'm just going to jump straight into it. We're starting in the Pacific Northwest. Specifically, we're spanning from Yukon down all the way to Wyoming. For those of you who may not have heard, I had never heard of this. This is called the Yellowstone to Yukon Conservation Initiative, also known as the Y2Y. And this is, as it says, is a dream of a wildlife corridor stretching from the Yukon to Yellowstone, where, quote-unquote, a charismatic megafauna, like bears, wolves, caribou, all that, can roam freely and have continuous undisturbed habitat. So I had never heard about this. Apparently, this project started in 1993, and it within the last couple of years, especially the last year, has really taken off because a lot of people have been outdoors. But they have thousands of people involved and over 450 partner groups behind them. And in August of 2021, they further advanced this corridor in Montana, securing a key habitat connection for grizzly bears. And the Y2Y initiative purchased 80 acres near Bull River and Clark Fork River. And this has kind of put a bookend on this particular section of it. But this area that they've started covering since 93 has covered and preserved more than 500,000 square miles of the Intermountain West, specifically for this project. And they're still pushing to add more. If you haven't seen it, go look it up. It's really cool. They've got diagrams, they've got pictures, all this kind of stuff. And you can see what their overarching goal is designed to look like. And it's amazing. There's actually a quote, and it said, in 2020 alone, thanks to the generosity of our donors and funders, we spent more than $3.49 million, driven by 26 staff, but working with our many partners to advance conservation in the Yellowstone to Yukon region, including 13 wildlife overpasses and underpasses underway that will support connectivity across roads. And that was really where I started to get super interested into this, because I started looking at these wildlife overpasses, and it is one of the neatest feats of engineering that I've seen, because it looks like a relatively standard overpass. I live in a pretty city-like populated area, and this is nothing what I would expect. I was thinking a tunnel, frankly, and it's very cool to see. I'm telling you, look it up. It's very, very neat. They've got pictures of grizzly bears and all this roaming across these huge swaths of land. And the preservation is awesome. And the way they've worked with private property and private entities to make this work is very inspiring. It's really cool to see what these folks up in Washington, Oregon are actually trying to do to preserve this stuff. It's really neat. So staying on that same theme, we're going to specify Seattle here. So a pair of nonprofits are housing homeless people in tiny sustainable houses in the backyards of charitable volunteers who decide to host for them. Essentially, it is a play off of two things: Airbnbs and this trend that's happening with tiny houses. And this Seattle-born partnership is trying to replicate the quote-unquote cultural shift brought about by Airbnb, and using that to tackle homelessness. So this is kind of a dual thing, because Seattle has really, really expensive real estate, and they also have the third largest homeless community in the country. So with that, this gentleman and this pair have created, his name is Rex Holbein, and he's created the Block Project along with Facing Homelessness. Facing Homelessness would find backyards in which Block could build small, low-emission housing, and the government's actually stepped in to make the process as legally expedient as possible. The zoning laws are already allowed, and they've already ensured that there's no impact on property tax for those volunteering the backyards. And it's 5-year leases for these tiny houses. And again, I would encourage you, look this up, because this is another thing that's very inspiring. This really is the first tiny home owner was a 74-year-old man, and he had become a very close part of the original property owner's life. And they have actually said, as a mutual thing, that they would, both he and the family would like that to be his permanent residence until he's gone. These are 120 square foot houses, and they're modular, they're prefab houses, and they've said that the assembly, because of this modular prefab system that they've created, makes for a very quick turnaround and a quick implementation. They've also introduced smart systems like rainwater catching, solar panels, furniture, hot plates, a bed. I'm looking right here. I'm seeing a mini fridge. I'm seeing, adjustable windows, all this kind of stuff. And Holbein actually said it was important that we didn't just provide a home that was meeting shelter needs, but that it would be this advanced type of home, and preferably to be the most forward home on the block, meaning, technologically speaking, getting what they could efficiently and effectively for people to use this stuff. And so far, thousands of Seattle residents have registered their properties under the Block Project, and fundraisers ensure that everyone gets, quote, welcome to the neighborhood gift bag. And it has pots, pans, shampoo, towels, bed linens, all sorts of stuff. And I'm not gonna lie, when I first started reading this, I got choked up. This is the epitome of what it means to be an American right here. This is, in a nutshell, this is what it means to be an American. These are people who have sacrificed time, effort, money, blood, sweat, and tears to actually conquer a problem, and they're doing it with a smile on their face. And the community and camaraderie of this, it really did. It choked me up. It made me very emotional, and I encourage you to look at it. All right, so moving on. We're going all the way to Georgia now. Specifically, we're going to Tybee Island, Georgia. And this is titled "The Retired Banker Devotes His Millionaire Fortune to Restoring Protective Sand Dunes on Island Beaches," specifically Tybee Island. And so he goes to, his name is Alan Robertson. He said, if you didn't know it was not nature, you wouldn't know. And it was built by a bulldozer. He's talking about what he has done. And what he has done is restored an 8-acre section of beach on Tybee and spent $15 million of his own money, involving nearly 50,000 cubic yards of sand. It goes to say that the rebuild was costly but necessary. And they're taking strides against storm surges and rising sea levels, all this kind of stuff. He's just a very intelligent man that has had the monetary means to actually do something about it. And this is amazing. So Robertson's restoration, which kindly included 2 parking lots offshore, is so successful that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration asked him to write a book of best practices for beach restoration, while some experts have said that he is 6 to 7 years ahead of the country. The man is, from everything I can get out of this, the man is absolutely ingenious, and he just felt called to this. And Orrin Pilkey, a professor of Earth and Ocean Sciences at Duke University, was quoted talking about this, saying, "The beach is a wonderful, free, natural defense against the forces of the ocean. Beaches absorb the power of the ocean waves, reducing them to a gentle swash that laps on the shoreline." So they actually went out of their way with terraforming all of this to make it a peaceful area. By bringing in all of that sand, it actually created a semi-natural sandbar, and it's amazing. The guy's, he describes himself as having entered the Matrix after retiring to Tybee Island, buying a house, and then immediately joining a local beach task force. He just fell in love with his area, and he did everything that he could to love it and restore it. So now we're moving even further to the east. We're going to New Jersey. Kind of. So this is New Jersey brothers walk to California and raise $70,000 for restaurant workers like them. The whole purpose of what these brothers are doing, Aiden and Louis Ardeen, they're seeking to raise money for restaurant workers stuck at home during COVID. And these 2 bartenders, they're brothers, they're both bartenders, decide to walk 3,200 miles across America just to raise money. They began their journey on the Asbury Park Boardwalk in New Jersey and ended up finishing, as they say, on the sands of the Pacific Ocean. They walked this entire thing and documented it on Instagram. Ardenes X America is their Instagram if you want to check it out. It's very, very cool. But here's where it kind of spirals. So they hoped to raise initially $30,000 for some charities that were helping restaurant workers waiting for the restrictions to end. They ended up making $70,000, which they distributed to the Cocoa Fund and the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation. Verizon ended up hearing about the endeavor and launched a donation drive in support of the Ardenes, who passed through 11 states over the course of 162 days, 12,000 feet in various elevation changes, and about 80 degrees in temperature variation before the job was done. Aiden told App this would not have been possible without the help of a huge community of people, whether people were donating or helping us navigate our way across the United States. This was definitely an adventure founded in a very hopeful notion about America, and it confirmed our suspicion that people are inherently good and want to help their neighbors. Beautiful. That's amazing. That is the American spirit right there, summed up. And they go and talk about how in Utah, they ended up rounding a corner and there was a black bear right in front of them. They recount their stories for this travel. But when they reached San Francisco, the supporters were waiting for them on the beach. But they ended up flying home and seeing the first person they saw was their mother, who was obviously very proud of them. And it's beautiful. These stories, this is the kind of stuff that makes you proud to be an American. And that's what Freedom Fridays is all about. It's positive news, the type of news that makes you proud to be an American. Every one of these stories today absolutely summed that up. It's stuff like this that it brings a smile to my face. Some of it even made me emotional. And that's what this is all about. So with that being said, thank you all for listening. It's been another great week. I've really enjoyed these episodes this week, and I'm really loving this new Freedom Fridays. So this was episode number 2. I hope you all enjoyed it. Have a wonderful weekend.